Hello ladies, hello gentlemen, welcome to Have the Race Gone for the TSR Super Touring here from Autopolis. It is the opening round indeed, and just as we're speaking, a little late I am. The slow ass laptop of mine not really enabling me to share the streams, the links quickly enough. And thus, what you're looking at here is actually the Super Pole lap concluding. Which means that the grid order is what you're seeing at the top left of your screen. TSR stick on provisional pole, right in front of Sausage, GT Welshland Sokyo in 4th place, and Grosso 5th in the Mustang of Netso Racing, Wake in 5th, and Kurt 24, and Flick Flock still a single driver left, and that was the Swedish survivor. But it wasn't to be P5 for T5 this time around. It's P8 for T5 Svart. Hello, Rabbit Gator. Nice to have you along. What a pleasure. And to our trusted mod, the oldest of mods of ours. It is Sokyo of Nookshot Motorsports himself. Welcome. Welcome to everyone tuning in here as well. Qualifying, as I mentioned, just having been over with. So that leaves a little bit of time for me to introduce this series with everybody waiting in the gravel trap. There's one car running the right way around. There's one car running the wrong way as well. But anyways, it's 4 models of front engine rear wheel drive touring cars running at 380 brake horsepower, 1100 kilograms, and then running sports tires. So it's sports mediums and sports soft, with sports soft being used for the qualifying session, and then drivers using or the series here using a little bit of a special. Old-time viewers of the channel might recognize this from TSR series of old, but the lap 1 pit stop is back, so drivers will be starting on very low fuel. They'll be pitting in on lap 1 to decide for themselves how much fuel they're going to carry for the race start, and exactly what tires to start on as well. That's an open choice here, so you don't have to start on the same tire compound that you're qualifying upon. And with that said, there is still only one set of softs permitted per race. There is though a loophole, that is that you could, in theory, start the race on softs and then just keep that set of sports softs, quite a durable set of tires still, for the entirety of the race. The race, which is supposed to last just about an hour's time or so, maybe a little bit less, here at the Autopolis short track that you might notice on the minimap at the top right corner. And that means that on the way up to the left-hand hairpin that kind of leads into the final sector of the track, well, the drivers are gonna head on into a right-hand, well, almost hairpin. It is actually a 180-degree turn all the way around, and then on to the start-finish lane. The start-finish line, that is. Indeed, a new TSR series. Always time to judge the liveries here. I think Jimmy's Castrol livery is very pretty indeed. We've got Stick running an M4 as well. Trying to get a glimpse at that. The Netflix machine, that's Flick Flock, if I'm not completely mistaken. There it is, the Hyundai Coupe, and that actually, the Genesis Group 4 machine, that's a very good time to actually just go through some of the cars. Or some of the cars, well, all of them. We have the Mustang Group 4 driven by Ingrosso. Joseph is in the Lexus, and that's an RCF, of course. Always get confused with these Lexus model names. There is who else is in the Lexus as well? We've got the BMW M4, which has taken pole position as well, with the TSR stick behind the wheel. We do also have the Toyota GT86 Storm, welcome. And the Arrows Racing Boys, that's Haiti, nice to have you along, welcome. Here's Kurt 24's bike car, powered by Bicycle Brands. Personal favorite of mine, obviously, being a bit of a cyclist myself. Very nicely liveried Lexus of G5 as well. I think the liveries are pretty good. And then the aforementioned Netflix Hyundai. Is it sponsored by White? It's sponsored by Canyon, though. Sadly not. White bikes would have been perfect, though. that whole thing is just insane. So we're on for a short break since we are supposed to run this race a little bit earlier, which means in turn we are a little bit late here, and I think a few of the drivers would like us to be running as quickly as possible. The Sokyo M4. Oh, Eddie, those updates. I can tell you're not the first one to be caught out by how long time it takes the PS4 to copy those updates. I did it as the first thing as I came home from work this afternoon. Turn on the PS4 and get that stuff done with. It's a dangerous one. It is indeed. And is there anything I haven't gone through in terms of this series format? I don't think so. Of course, should you sit in with any questions, don't hold back. Throw them at me in chat and I'll do my best to answer. Here's Wake and the Squirt Mobile. I don't know if in Belgium they actually have a soda called Squirt, or this is a joke or something, but it looks like a legit soda brand. And you have your returning pre-race carnage. Just be able to draw anyone away. So we're waiting for a Splurge to return, I guess. That's what I'd expect. That it is indeed. Since he was supposed to be here, he did qualify as well, and he is... What liveries are on the Stangs? Well, the Stang is a bit of a confusing boy because it's run by Ingrosso of Netso Racing. And of course, being the teammate of Schosse, they're running two different cars with not, well, I was about to say similar. They are very similar indeed, those two liveries. Schosse running the Lexus and Ingrosso is in the Stang. So a Stang there is, and it's run by the Portuguese. Get some love for the radish in chat. So I do apologize for this bit of a wait here before the race. I wasn't really expecting this, and I should let it be known that I am pushing for the introduction of the qualifying system, the qualifying, or what should we say, the lobby qualifying that I was answering here. 2 minutes, it said 2 minutes, that's something to say. But anyways, the qualifying system that has been imposed at one of the previous updates, I think it would perfectly let the drivers have whatever breaks they need before racing, before the qualifying as well, and then have a short 5-minute qualifying session, and then off we go. Race would give us so much more, and it would also give us that little lap time box on the bottom left hand of the screen, making it much easier for, well, I was about to say me, but I guess actually everyone, actually keeping track of what is happening in the session. Was it Squirt Water, Armored Core? Welcome, mate. Nice to have you along. The Squirt one is fun, though. Oh, Eddie, you made it! I guess that means starting from the back, but you make do with that, I think. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Nova's here as well for VLX. Another Toyota 86 Group 4 machine. Such a nice car. And as always, with the Volex boys, liveries are on point. And here is Stick contributing with our... well, that's a regular as well. By now in the TSR broadcast, the reversing driver. And here it is. Racing has begun, or racing has been ordered underway. Now, just a reminder of our starting format here, our fuel deciding format. We could say we're gonna have one formation lap on very low fuel, and we're gonna exit the pit after filling up the tanks and filling up the fuel cells, you'd probably even say, and putting on whatever tires the drivers want to start on, and from there on we'll go back to the grid. There'll be a time announced by race direction, a lobby time. That's the timer in the bottom left hand of the screen. That'll be used as the starting signal, and from there on it'll be green, it'll be go, 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 down to a turn one that on previous race streams, on here at least, has seen a lot of action. But the thing is with Autopolis that most of the racing that we've had from here before has been in relatively high downforce machines. These aren't exactly what you call high downforce, and with the sports tires that they're equipped with for these races in the Super Touring series, it does also very much limit how much mechanical grip the tires, or the tires and the cars in turn have, and that really makes some different racing. The drivers have to be smooth, both on steering input and especially on their pedal work here as they come down towards that final corner. A bit of a tricky one. It's a downhill right hand, long open hairpin, I think you'd call it in rallying terms. And now it's time to look out, just to have a bit of a look at what types of tires are being selected. Now, remind you, there's only one set of softs available for everyone. And just about how much fuel will they be running here? Because in turn, with tires times 4, fuel times 4, in theory, I think you should be able to run the race on a single set of softs, if you're soft on the inputs, that is. Morten, what a pleasure. It's always good to have you along. I think, Rabbit, by the way, that perhaps the TSR lads needed to give the young Ryan a break. Now, of course, what's happening right about now is that the drivers will be getting back to their grid positions. They can do that on the grid as well. Sometimes makes for a bit of a messy formation lap. And then, of course, given that there will be some bit of a wait before the entirety of the grid forms up, well, it's not necessarily too much of an advantage getting there quickly. The longer you stay still, well, the colder, in theory at least, your tires are going to be coming into turn 1. Oh, hej Mathias, og velkommen, god aften. Look at that, I have to... A greeting in my maternal language must be returned. As the drivers are indeed here forming up. It's Stick, Chasse, Welsh in third, then Sokyo and Grosso, Wake, Kurt 24 in the bike car. We've got the Swedish Survivor T5 Black in 8th place, Flick Flock in the Netflix Hyundai in 9th. That's Jimmy in 10th, of course, and then the 2 drivers who didn't get to qualify around the back. Now let's see, did we even get the timer? We never did. So that's now the question. Five minutes straight, that's 25 seconds from now. And it'll be interesting to see how they compare under race conditions, you could say, Rabbit Gator. You know that a single lap of qualifying isn't always enough to judge, and here is 3, 2, 1, and here they go off. They are at the 5-minute mark. TSR Stick getting away very well indeed. Wancam time to have a look at the rest of the field. Chasse already looking for the dive into turn 1. They seem to get around all of them without too much troubles. It is a tight squeeze there through turn 1. There is Welsh having a look as well. 2 Lexuses following the leading BMW. And then another BMW in 4th place before the Mustang, the lone Stang of Ingrosso, the Portuguese driver. That's Sokyo going wide into the first of 2 hairpins, but managing to hold on to position. Wake is in 6th place. T5 has made up a single place, and Jimmy in the M4 has made up 2. And then there is a bit of a gap, so something I think must have happened here. Kurt 24, Nova, and Addy. That doesn't look too good for Kurt, who is losing pace, it seems. Losing speed at the moment. Will be interesting to see if we have any lap 1 pit stops at the front of affairs. Coming on to lap 2. Well, what is effectively lap 2 at least. It's still TSR Stick, followed by Chasse, Welsh, Sokyo, and Ingrosso. Still a tight squeeze with the, let's see, well, the top 7 just still separated by 3 seconds, so very close indeed. Wake in 8th, also just hanging on to the train in the lead. And then plenty of gaps now forming behind Kurt, who must have had a pit stop there. And let's just have actually another look at what exactly happened further down the order here. Let's see from the perspective of TSR Jimmy. So there's a bit of contact between Kurt and Jimmy, obviously, and that's Kurt losing out. He takes a bit of a nudge as well from Flick Flock before coming together, I think. Banging a bit of doors with Nova into turn 3. And that might have had a bit to say here. Jimmy hanging on well. He's gotten past Wake. And whatever happened to the Belgian here, it hasn't been good. Down into P8. Stick is still hanging on to it at the front of affairs. A bit of a gap though down to Welsh, almost 2 seconds, and Grosso having moved up as well in the Stang. Netso Racing doing well for themselves in positions 2 and 4. And T5 also moving up the order, up into 6th place. Yeah, Rabbit Gator mentioned that thought the Mustang would be flying. I have my suspicions that the 7-speed gearboxed BMW and Lexuses will be there as well. We have to discuss it at some point whether it was actually Lexi with a Lexus in the pluralist, but decided also that probably wasn't here. I think there's a bit of a move. Oh, and what is that? That's Wake? Oh, there's not Wake at all. That's Welsh. Man, whatever happened for the Welshman, well, let's just have a look. Doesn't seem like it involves anyone else but himself going deep into turn 1 into the gravel trap. What a disaster for the Welshman. Lexus. Oh, and there's a very good battle between Stick and Schosse here at the front of affairs as we go on board with the German. He's trying to send it into the final corner. Oh, Stick is squeezing him in to get the run. That's brilliant defending from the Brit. Not giving up easily. Still in the danger zone as they come down towards turn 1. Schosse having another look, braking very late, almost with a little bit of a tap of friendship between the two, but manages also to not hit each other. And with that, let's just go back and have another look at that launch in from before. Stick. But you really have to get it done with that left-hand kink. Hashtag real burp onto the start-finish straight, with Stick making the absolute most of it and stretching the legs of the M4. Now there's a bit of stuff happening in behind, of course. With that going into the gravel there of Welsh, that does mean that the Stang is now up into 3rd. And yet again here, just like on the lap before, Schosse is right on the tail of TSR Stick as Stick goes deep into the final corner. This might open the door, but he does go late then in and gets a very good run actually, as Schosse also has a bit of a moment. Ethan, the Dean, is here. Nice to have you along. Grats on the car. Sounds like we're talking about some Gran Turismo type stuff. No. Ethan's got a car. What I reckon is perhaps your first car, which I'm not completely sure of, call, but it sounded like that in Discord. So that's certainly something worth celebrating. We got a bit of a battle now going on behind. That's Sokyo holding off T5 Black, Jimmy, and then that's Welsh in the background as well. You've already named your car, that's brilliant. That's really good. Sokyo back up into 4th place. seeming to play the long game, the consistent game. Stick, having found out that it's just the way, just on the limit of what kind of grip these tires can produce into that final corner, but just about manages it lap after lap. And now look at that, because indeed the Stang is flying along. And in Grosso, well, this could be two factors because certainly Shasha does look to be somewhat stuck behind that BMW of TSR Stick. On board we are with the Portuguese. Quite a different engine note than the rest of the field here. Quite a different car in turn as well. And they're getting side by side here. This time around, Schotte is gonna try another way as he dips out to the outside through that final corner to take the preferred line of TSR Stick and in turn to take the lead of the race. That looked like a very good move indeed. And Lexus leads. Just seeing if he also holds it off through turn 1. But Schotte known to be on board with the Portugueser. Here it is. On board with Schotte this time around. Trading paints they are, but in the end, the Lexus gets the run. The Portugueser, that's a very good one, Storm. I gotta... I might borrow that one on occasion. We do have a couple of Portuguesers running in the TT Cup as well. And Schotte really showing the pace of that Lexus and the pace of his own abilities, because he's broken away over that first lap of leading the race. And I got 6/10 of an advantage. Of course, Stick pulling in a little bit, but Stick will have to go defensive soon from the Stang of the Portugueser. The worst part is that Portugueser, I mean, a Portuguese person in Danish would be like literally a Portugueser. So further back, T5 is now up into 4th place, and it's all coming together. And still a train of cars in it for the lead battle further down the order. Seems like there's been a bit of chaos. These cars are hard to control indeed. T5 in the second Lexus currently, but we do have 4 different manufacturers in the top 4 spots and within 3 seconds of running. So I'm thinking they can't be too far apart. That's not true at all. We have 3 different manufacturers because I can't count at all. That's a good old Dirtenism. If ever there was one here, Welsh. And yet another Lexus being followed closely by Nova in the GT86. And there's a bit of air down to Jimmy. Same goes down to Wake in the Hyundai. The Squirt Mobile seems to be suffering a little bit. And then a big gap down to Flick Flock, Eddie and Kurt, who's had some trouble here early on. Schotte has now broken the slipstream down to Stick. Stick still defending well from Grosso and company behind, although they are starting, it seems, to queue up. And as I say that, it's kind of broken up. T5 looking lively. And then, of course, it's going to be interesting to see how the different cars and drivers do on that set of softs that I reckon that everybody is gone for. Let's just have a look. Not too much wear. And after 13 laps and effectively 12, so that's -2. That's just over 10 laps of racing. About 12 minutes that's been done. So getting close to 25% race completion. I'd reckon that those not opting to stay on that single set of softs for the entirety of the race might just suffer on it in the end. I don't think there will be a lot to gain on going on to the mediums, given that you're also going to lose time on the pit stop. And that in turn means that there will be quite a bit of time to gain on saving fuel. Here as T5 sends it onto and Grosso. They almost make contact, but they managed not to. And as I say that, they rub for quite a while there. But T5 actually gets in front, gets third place. He got the Portuguese right on his tail though, so let's see if anything is about to happen down into turn 1. But 0.2 of a second, the Lexus is actually running away with it here. Man, T5 making sure that there isn't any doors left open. Now let's have a second look at what happened to here on board with the Swedish survivor. Just wanting some space. I don't think T5 can really give more space given the grip that he has. It makes for a bit of rubbing. With these cars, rubbing is racing. And T5 is up into third. With all this, Stick's pace seems to be dropping off ever so slightly. The BMW known to be tough on the tires, so we'll have to see whether everyone can maintain the pace that they've had. And that's another move from T5 to grab a position. I think Stick gets the run out of that one, but he might be close enough to actually just jump right back into it. Down into turn 1 now. Let's see, he does go to the side. I think he does have the run to get up and along the Brit. And that's ice cold, cutting in front from TSR Stick to grab the apex and maintain speed. Sokio hanging on to 4th place, and Grosso there down into 5th. I think the Portugueser had some kind of problem at some point. Hello Orion as well. Beamer is certainly bad on fuel. I know that I have raced it in when I did the monthly Group 4 endurance race that was run by Rinsky and the American lads on GT Planet. Very nice series of races that was to participate in, by the way. And it's still running, I think, if I'm not completely mistaken. But anyway, I did run the BMW M4 for a couple of races, and fuel consumption is horrible compared to many of the other cars. Look at the 86 of Nova. Also, look at the size difference of those two machines. And that's Sokio bidding it. That's Sokio going into the gravel trap on the final corner from 4th place indeed. Just going faster than the grip levels allow, and that's a place gain for Nova, who's all of a sudden up into 4th place for virtual life experience, and Grosso back up into 5th, the Portugueser, and they're getting lapped. I think that's Addy, if I'm not completely mistaken. Yeah, Addy in the Spotify Hyundai, who I think would be excused by just basically letting the first race lap also being the first lap of warm-up practice and so on. Now with a bit of lap traffic to contend with all of this happening in behind, Chasse is really running away with it. 5 seconds is now the lead down to TSR Stick, who's still fending off the Swedish survivor for 2nd place. It seems the Lexus certainly has an advantage on tires. At least it seems the pace of the BMW wouldn't really last. And that's another round, that's another go for T5. I think this time it might just stick. The Swedish survivor is up into second. Now, is there gonna be any kind of retaliatory move? There is not. It doesn't have the position to do so in the end. Just gonna put it back a little further so we can actually see what happened. Actually a very nice move from T5. Having been close the lap before, this time pulling it off brilliantly indeed. And now the job is to pull away and stick out the slipstream. Nova seeming to have some good consistency in the 86 as well. That's also a car known to be a little more agile, although with this BOP, which just basically means equal power, equal weight, I think we're gonna see some different characteristics here as Nova goes very wide and just about manages to keep it within the gray stuff. And yes, it does certainly look that way. Here we have the first pit stoppers coming in for, well, what looks to be just fuel, at least for Welch and Sokyo. We haven't seen if they've gone for any tire changes. So, doesn't seem that way. There's a bit of repairs for Sokyo as well, and then just fuel for both of them. So staying on the softs for as long as possible. Would expect drivers to try and just fuel save as much as possible within these battles. And also worth noting is the fuel economy of the 86 is in a different class than any of these other cars, I'd suggest. I know the 86 is very good on fuel, which I'm not sure about the Lexus. I know the other cars aren't exactly very good on fuel, so it's going to be an interesting one to see. I don't think the Hyundai is necessarily terrible, but I also don't think it's good. That's Jimmy coming in from 6th place. We have Wake, the best of the Hyundais at the moment, in 7th. It's going to jump Jimmy as the Scotsman is in the pits, but 13.5 seconds down on in Grosso. So nice with a bit of predictions, a little bit of a prediction game. That's always some of the fun stuff with running a new series. Now Schuss is still extending. It's up to 6 seconds, although it seems that after T5 gained 2nd place, it's somewhat stabilized. So here comes first pit stop for T5 as well. We are on what's effectively lap 17. And I gotta say, the it even has hashtag Swedish Survivor on the roof. That's beautiful. Very nice livery with the Joker as well, I have to say. And who's that? That's the Netflix mobile of Addy as well, exiting. There's Wake almost getting the run on T5. And now the question is, how much fuel is left for Wake? That's quite a bit, actually. It seems the Belgian's been heavy since early days. So with that, it's now Chassis leading Stick, Nova, and Grosso, and then T5. But of course, we'll see some changes along that order when the top 4 decides to come in. And then, of course, we have Wake, who's yet to have his first pit stop done. Then we have Welsh Jimmy, who's already pitted. Sokyo, same goes for them. And I think Sokyo also had a bit of damage repairs that cost those extra couple of seconds. And now chasing Jimmy in front. Yet again getting a bit of a slide on into that final corner. So difficult to find the grip on that downhill run through there. Now it's been even more running away with it now. Chassis looking so strong here as Nova's having a ding on the inside of TSR Stick. The 86 certainly looking stronger and stronger as the race goes on. Well, then that's a BMW really struggling to go around the corners. And you can see it just watching wide with understeer. And Stick seemingly having to put in a lot of steering input in order for the car to be able to do anything. Well, for this stop, we've seen everyone stay on the softs. But the thing is, we might not see everyone do so. I mean, Stick is extending this one. And perhaps my prediction on staying on the softs for the entirety of the race would be a bit much. Nova all over the bumper of TSR Stick at the moment. Just another level of composure in that Toyota at the moment as we're moving towards the halfway point of the race. Oh, and there is the send. Stick though good at getting strong exits. Nova dives for the pit lane instead, and Stick stays out. Oh, there wasn't really any choice for the VLX Brit. As there was, well, there was a choice, but that'd be running out of fuel, and that's never a good idea. But indeed, Ryan, the longer you can stay on the softs, the better. But there is, of course, a break-off point. And what did it take? 6 seconds or so to change the tires. That's what I think it is, at least. So now running order, Chassis, Stick, and Grosso up into 3rd place. Then T5 in 4th by now. Pretty closely followed by the Hyundai of Wake, but Wake have not pitted yet. So still at that first pit stop, and then Nova, who just came out, just after being somewhat stuck behind Stick, figured that it'd be better than to up in the pits, of course, with a single percent of fuel left. Wasn't really any choice, but still, then pretty close. Jimmy, it's going to be interesting to see where the leaders actually are when they come back on there, and Grosso also have yet to make the first pit stop. So the Portugueser has run very well as well, and same goes for Stick, given that they were quite heavy here for the first stint. And as I say that, and Grosso going a little deep through there. So the drivers have a single set of sports softs each, and anything else than that has to be mediums. But there's no rule that you have to use both compounds. It's another change, and that's the first tire change we've seen. So that's a set of mediums going on for TSR stick, and then a whole lot of fuel. That should probably be enough to do the rest of the race here in Wake. Well, there's perhaps a reason that Wake hasn't been all that fast on the first stint. He's been running the mediums here along and now fueling on. He'll be probably running the softs for the rest of the race. So now the only one we haven't had in for a stop is Chasse. And just as I think, well, that's happening right about now. The number one machine is in. Let's just have a sneak peek look at that. That's pretty good tire management, and that's a driver who's, I think that would be my call at least, is looking to stay on the softs for the entirety of the race. And Grosso also coming in now and is holding on to that same strategy. A little bit more wear on the fronts of that Stang. Here is T5 Black with the undercut. Working well, it seems, as Nova is also gonna get past. And then there is the Portugueser exiting the pits with a bit of lag, and now side by side with TSR Jimmy, and I think he gets a little bit of contact there. Gets sent into the gravel trap, or is it just a lag spike for Grosso? I'm not completely sure, but it didn't look good at all. Certainly was a bit of a connection issue there for a second. We're gonna have another look instantly. That's the pit exit. You were on board with Grosso, but already there scraping the wall, and that looks very strange indeed. Tries to go in, Jimmy, but just it's hard to see whether Grosso turns into, and then that looks very strange for me, to be honest. But it doesn't help for the Portugueser whatsoever, down into P8 on the outlap. That's a terrible time. And I wouldn't be surprised if I know there's no damage at least, but that looks like some bad connection issues now, at least on our end. Let's hope it's not as bad for the remaining bit of the field. Rest in peace. Indeed. So after having been in for that stop, it still remains a 10.4 second advantage for Chasse, staying on the softs. And it's the same game for T5. I think a lot of the drivers will be attempting to do so. It's an interesting strategy, and one that really would reward being smooth and just steady. Maybe running a more rearwards facing brake bias in order for the car to react a little bit better to trail braking as well. I think most of the drivers, most of the people here who know Chasse would probably have put their money up on him anyways, as the German is very fast, and he is very fast on a very consistent basis. Seems to have very few off days. Jimmy's up into 4th place. That's certainly not bad for the Scotsman, who, mind you, started in 10th and has really taken that BMW places. Stick though down in 8th place. Oh, on the mediums, and having picked up damage. So that's the reason. And of course it happened quite a bit of way back, but bad luck it seems for Stick. Our pole setter of today. Well, it wasn't gonna be. And now for sure Wake is gonna be charging down on the softs. It's gonna be interesting to see what the Hyundai is gonna be capable of Ryan, you say Schuss is gonna win this for sure, but these cars are a bit of a handful. Anything could in turn happen. Although I'm not sure that Schuss is just gonna go and bin it though. Such a consistent driver. That's Welsh in and Sokio as well for the second round of stops, and that's a fresh set of tires for Sokio. Welsh is not just fuel, I'd expect so, and that's sticking for damage fixing as well, and Schuss is indeed still on the same set of tires. Goes for a lot of them here, a bit of damage fixing for Welsh. And a fresh set as well. Yep, mediums for Welsh as well. Rejoining in positions 7 and 8. And that Wade could be looking for a one-stopper and is on the softs now. Certainly isn't too shabby at all. Trying to get the race to come to him, the Belgian, and seeming to have a good bit of success in doing so at the moment. But certainly, well, here comes the pit stop from Jimmy as well. And so it is. Mediums for the Scotsman as well. It's going to be those last 15 laps or so. I think they're aware of exactly what you're talking about there with the crossover times, and that is, of course, at what kind of lap time should you change? When will it be faster just to change and go on a fresh set of mediums? Jimmy with a big swing of the rear through turn 1 there. Hello, Stick. Good to have you along. But a shame about the luck. I didn't see what happened to you. Just saw what damage was picked up in whatever incident it was. And it looked bad. The gap still 10.6 seconds, so very static it actually is between Schuss and T5, but you could suspect the German out in front of being, well, German in his approach of things and just saying we don't need to go any faster than this. Let's just conserve the tires and make sure they go the distance. Saying the German approach, that's probably because of Mercedes. Well, any Brit could say it's a British approach, with it being very Lewisy, a very blessed approach. Nova having consolidated that third place for now as well. Let's just have a look at the fuel situation, looking very good for the Toyota as well. So that's gonna be up there, I think, for this series. Able to run the long game at the races. Might not be up there on single lap pace, but it will once all comes to all, and with a bit of a better qualifying than being all the way at the back of affairs, mind you. Then I think we could have seen a better race for Nova as well, and I think Nova could very well be up there challenging Schuss next time around. Gets to qualify. Oh, Stick CJ'd it. What bad luck, mate. That's it's a bit of a shame to hear. Now, and Grosso, the Portugueser, being Robinson Crusoe'd at the moment on an island. 13 seconds to cars in front and behind. And behind it's Jimmy, it's Wake, and it's Welsh as well. And not too long now between those drivers as well. Mind you, we have Jimmy on the mediums, we have Wake on a set of softs now. And that gap between the two is coming down. Wake is setting some personal best lap times at the moment, so very strong going. Look at that, just shaving off the tenths. The Stang is about to get some TV time. We'll get it some more rapid. We'll even go on board. Although in Grosso's place here in traffic at the moment, a bit of a... Oh, as we say that, who just said that in Grosso's car was about to be filmed? Because that's a back marker. That's Flick-Flock getting braking late. From 9th position, here it is. Oh, no, no, no. Well built the Hyundai is. Let's hope for it to be the same for that Stang. Certainly lucky for Grosso. Not picking up any damage there. That's rather impressive, I think. So that could have been much, much worse indeed. Now look at this. The gap's been closed by 2 seconds since last time we had a look at the battle for 5th place between Wake and Jimmy. Jimmy and Wake, the Scotsman and the Belgian. The wrong Wang, come on. So we're on board with TSR Wake. 0.7 of a second. And I reckon he'll close that quickly once they get through the first section. Though both of them carrying a bit too much speed, going wide. They're almost hanging on too far and too long. That green stuff isn't the place that you should really linger while being on the power. Now that is turn 3. And then comes the really technical bits now into the first of 2 hairpins. And Wake goes for the run. Doesn't really get it though. You just see how the BMW does not have the traction on the mediums. Oh, and there is the move, I think, as Jimmy goes a little deep into the final corner. And they'll be side by side for the run down the start-finish straight. And there, I think the BMW was even gonna win. Although the Hyundai is no real slouch as well. There's a car exiting the pits lane. The pits lane. The pit lane. Oh, they're gonna go 3 wide through turn 1. And no one's gonna go off. They aren't even coming together. That's absolutely impressive. And we shall indeed have and see a long second look here, because first of all there's a send. Just dips it in there as Jimmy goes a little wide. And then eyes and cameras fixed to where we can also have a look at what happened. Because look at, they're exiting the pit lane. Oh, it's gonna be a tight squeeze. And Wake just doesn't have the space to really commit to the send, and that enables Jimmy to just stay ahead on the outside there. A very good battle between the two. Oh, and that's a second pit stop for Grosso. Couldn't make it last on the softs. Now it's also a set of mediums, and that is gonna cost the Portuguese a big time here as Wake also passes in the back, and it's gonna be a double one for the Belgian here coming through. I think he's gonna lose it even. Just about And that calls for another look just in a sec because he's got Jimmy right on the tail right by now. And he's really trying to defend, but it seems still has the pace in the softs. That is on the Hyundai here, and Grosso now on mediums, so Wake should be able to contend for that 4th place as well now. Seems to be going well at the moment for the Belgian. Let's just jump back for a second look. So already here he's in front of Jimmy. And then doesn't quite make it there. So that move was made earlier, of course, and now it's a 3-way scrap for 4th place between Ingrosso, Wake, and Jimmy. Let's just go on board with the BMW of TSR. Jimmy now currently in 6th place. Goes a little wide there, and he loses out on. Actually, he loses out big time. Top 3 would have to pit again. I wouldn't be sure of that. Shows it. Oh, it's gonna be close though. Not sure that he's actually gonna be able to, but it's gonna be a short splash and dash. Nova's up into 2nd, of course, with that pit stop from Ingrosso. Let's have a look at the fuel situation. Nova surely is going all the way on the fuel that's left in that GT86. Man, T5 is looking comfortable for finishing the race fuel-wise as well. So actually I don't think the top 3 is going to be pitting again. I think the top 3 is I think the top 3 is actually good, but of course I wouldn't hang my neck around it. So we'll see what happens here. Not a lot of time left, not a lot of laps left in turn. There's 8 more to do. Still time for TSR Wake to get the better of the Portugueser in front. That's a big tail slide as well from the Mustang, but coming in it really looks like it's been running quite the rearwards facing brake bias indeed. For that to happen under braking. And now Wake, of course, needs to get this done while he still has some speed left in the softs. Of course, it can be difficult getting the run on the Mustang. That's a very, very, very ambitious move, and he just about pulls it off. I think that was more through... oh, that's the wrong... Oh, there it is. That's an absolutely incredible send. I'd just like to see just that little bit more, but here it comes. TSR Wake just brakes so late there and just manages to keep that Hyundai on the apex of the corner. That's quite impressive, to be honest. Up into P4. Oh, and that's Ingrosso getting onto the grass and losing out on some important time. And that also, in turn, gives Wake a much-needed break. He didn't just squirt up the inside there and yeet on through. That was a big send. Let's have another look. That was a major send indeed. And here it comes. That car is not under control whatsoever. But it's a brilliant move from the Belgian in the end. A wild one. straight out the jungle, up into 4th. And now look what they have for company. Jimmy's catching back up to the rear end of Ingrosso as well. He's going to be battling on for 5th place. And then there's a bit of gap down to Welsh. Same goes between Welsh and Sokio. And then quite a bit more space down to Flick-Flock as well. But all the while, out ahead, at least for the time being, or at least for the time being, with less than 5 laps left, I think we can pretty much say that it's looking very good indeed for Shasa and Netso Racing at the moment. 17 seconds of an advantage down to Nova. Wildly impressive though that Nova came in from starting at the bottom row to looking now to finish on what would be the front row. Here is Ingrosso under an ever-growing pressure, and there is actually that pit stop that you mentioned. Rabbit Gator Shasa having to pit in here late. I don't think it's gonna change anything really, but it's gonna be a tire change as well. And actually, look at this, Nova actually getting a bit closer than I think Shasa would necessarily expect. Now the gap is down to around 4 seconds. Nova still on that original set of softs. The question is, are those softs still faster and fast enough that Nova can gain that much time that quickly? I don't think so. There, Nova already making a bit of a mistake through the first sector. That's cost around half a second. Shuts it back up to 4 seconds. Let's just see how that timer's gonna go. Certainly made it a lot closer than I was expecting it to. But it does seem that the tires that 86 has seen better days by now. I wouldn't expect it to be wildly fast whatsoever. It's a bit of a surprising tire change to make for Shasa. Of course, the calculation could just be that, well, Shasa knew that that he was going to be exiting in front, but 4 seconds doesn't allow for a lot of mistake. And puts a bit of pressure on the shoulders of Shasa, that's for sure. And there is Wake still in 4th place and having comfortable space behind, knowing that Grosso isn't really faster at the current time, it seems, but the Portuguese is defending well, it seems, on a personal best lap. Personal best first sector, well, that isn't saying too much, I think. Jimmy pressuring on as well. With 2.5 laps left for these drivers, it's certainly coming towards the pointy end of affairs. Looks tough for Jimmy. It's close, but it's just a little too far away from actually being able to do anything about the car in front. 2 more laps to get it done. And the gap in front of these two is completely static as well. Out in front, chassis is even increased, so the decision to change tires probably wasn't a bad one in the end. On to the final lap. Although it's been an impressive show, I must say, from Nova to come from so far back, setting fastest lap in the process as well. With a 1:13.9, that's impressive. And T5 having driven a very good race as well to come home for third place. Through the first of two hairpins for the final time, that is. Schusse for Netso Racing. The final corner it is for the final time. Lexus wins the opening round of the TSR Super Touring here from Autopolis as Schusse takes the checkered flag and brings it home. What a brilliant race. And Nova, for virtual live experience in the GT86, comes home for second after starting on the bottom row on the grid after not making qualifying. That's brilliant stuff indeed. T5 Black, the Swedish survivor, making a strong showing from 8th to 3rd. Very, very good race as well for the Swede. TSR Wake also improving, certainly given that he was quite a bit of way down, finishing 4th, and in Grosso in 5th. The Portuguese are finishing right in front of Jimmy. That battle went all the way to the line. Grosso holding on to 5th place in the end in front of the Scotsman, finishing 6th. And then in 7th, it's Welsh, who had a bit of bad luck early on getting into the gravel trap on turn 1 after a pretty good qualifying session and never really seemed to find the rhythm afterwards. Sokio finishing in 8th place. We'll have Flick Flock in the Netflix Hyundai coming home for 9th. Eddie's already crossed the line for the final time. And Curtis coming home for 10th place, and that will be last of the finish. No, that won't, because we've still got Stick hanging out in the pits. But a pretty good race. A very strong displaying, of course, for our, well, our top 2, our top 3, you might say. Not too much calamity, but also a couple of nice heated battles. Plenty of rubbing along, and that's always making it some fun racing to see. Not a lap. So I think it's party time. It's bouncy heads time. I will do my best to jump into the driver chat. Let's just see what people have to say to the race.
Like, driver's chat now. Yep.
Dude. Oi, lads.
Hey.
Oi, Dirten.
Hello, 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 hello. Good race, guys. How did it feel?
It was good. It was good. Too many mistakes.
I didn't like the start time. It really put me off the game.
It was... the mediums were surprisingly grippy.
No, I had troubles with starting on the mediums. I think
If I had
there I made
started
a
on the
mistake.
mediums, I reckon I'd have a much better race. I mean,
Yeah.
putting in a 14.8 near the end was quite... yeah, I'll take that.
Well, that's all some interesting thoughts and ideas. Here we have the finishing order for anyone, and that's gone again. Thank you, Petey. Thank you, Cass. That's a good meme. That's like, oh, you have it and it's gone. But congratulations to Shasse. I don't know if he's actually here in this in the chat.
I think he left.
I haven't heard his beautiful German voice. So we'll just leave it at that. But anyways, thanks for tuning in to Have the Race Gone for the opening round of the TSR Super Touring here from Autopolis, the short version. It's been a pleasure having you all along. Of course, my name is DirtenDK, and you've been watching Have the Race Gone. If you've been liking what you've been seeing, feel free to smash that that thumb right below the video. And if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe as well. We'll be back this coming Thursday for the Nuke Shot Endurance Series. And then of course... then of course we'll be back again next Thursday with more Super Touring, I suppose.
Every Thursday, yeah.
Every Thursday.
We'll see,
I didn't
we'll
I didn't check the calendar yet.
We'll see if we can get a slicker start next time.
Oh yeah, we'll see if we can implement the qualifying procedure and make people pee before qualifying. I've never understood why that's a big... Oh, anyways, I'll talk about that now. Anyway, get on ranting. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. I know she just tuned in, but now it's too late. Chance is gone. So from me, DirtenDK, I'll be signing out. You snooze, you lose. See you again next time.
You.
Cheers and
Bye.
bye.
Bye.